No, so I'll break
All
it
right.
down a little more simply. The Odyssey ship itself only counts up to 999 moons. That's where it'll stop, right? 880 are from the missions you do, but you can just keep buying ones from the shop until it stops at 999. Internally, the game keeps counting. Each shop counts 99 moons. So each shop gets hundreds of moons.
Yo, Gary, the one.
So
Account for gravity.
Ethan's also off of his ADHD meds today.
Ethan,
When you roll around to this
I'm
question,
sorry.
I was like,
Devin, can you just stop
not
I
talking?
tried to give it to
Joe,
Quentin.
listen,
he's not
can-
gonna make it.
I want you to just stop talking.
Should I give this to Quentin?
Yeah,
No,
stop.
keep
Should I give it to
going.
Quentin?
Keep going.
No. Stop talking. Ethan, say a number.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Power Up Brothers podcast, where half of our members are dying of the plague and the other half are working on the cure.
That's drastic.
I'm
All
not
right,
one of the
yeah,
half
true.
that's working on the cure or
I
dying.
have the
So-
cure, but none of these guys can afford it.
Half of you is dying of the plague,
Right.
and the other half of you is working on the cure.
I'm
That's
dying
what it
from the
is.
plague,
Split
and I'm
through.
working on the cure, but I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so I won't be able to make one.
and
Oh,
of
no.
course, Ty is the plague. All
Yeah.
right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All right, guys.
How's it going, guys? How's it
Pretty
going?
good. Pretty good.
Time for the
Slow
news.
week. Actually, as speaking of news, as we were recording today, there's a state of play going on that we're not watching.
We're not
clearly.
watching.
And I don't care.
I didn't know about it.
Clearly.
I don't care. Oh, it is the state of
hey,
play.
we got our
Pretty
episode
close.
title.
We got a
State
episode
of
State
title.
of play.
Yeah,
State
there
of
you
play.
go.
Good.
That's nice.
The state of play kind of leaked, and it was largely about like games that'll be enhanced on PS5 Pro.
Very cool.
And I
An active
immediately,
Okay. Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
that's a
immediately
scam.
like, well,
That's
I'm
a
not that
scam.
interested.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I'll tell you some
Uh,
news. Okay.
Please do.
The Sims franchise will never have a new entry forever because they realized
They
that they
already
can
did it.
turn The Sims 4 into an active service.
Ooh.
Okay.
They're literally just the. As far as I understand it, they're going to maybe even rebuild The Sims 4 with a brand new engine, but it will be The Sims 4
Ever.
forever.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to
That's
brand
the
it as.
title. If
It's
it's not
Sims
the
Forever.
title, if it's not Sims
I
Forever,
I heard a rumor, and I don't know if this has any validity, that they may just rebrand it as just Sims or The Sims and drop the 4.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd heard that it was kind of so definitive it was hard to make a sequel to.
Sims 4 was.
Yeah.
Everyone hates
Oh.
Sims 4, so
Really?
but it
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of 3 then.
sells amazingly.
Yeah.
It sold amazingly, and it keeps selling, and that's why. But I know like hardcore Sims fans generally have a lot of problems with it. It had not only did it have a lot of glitches, it just was pretty uninspired, and also they say that it has like too many DLCs and things like that.
Yeah, it does
But
a lot.
they had like a sort of little announcement that I saw some of, and one of the things that they talk about is like an AI prompt system for update. For an update where you could basically put in like a celebrity, you could put in their name and it would create a sim that looks like them, and it's basically just using their images.
They're trying to get AI
Ghoulish.
to just make
Truly
their game.
ghoulish.
or you could put in you could say like a red house with a certain characteristics and describe it, and it will use in-game assets to like put it together. And I don't know who's asking for this. I don't know who's asking for that. But anyways,
Yeah, like specifically a celebrity maker is very strange. I mean,
'Cause-
it is fun to like recreate characters in the Sims.
but that's
and
the
stuff.
fun, is that you go in and you make them.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right? This would automatically generate characters that look like people.
Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And
The
I'm gonna
first
refrain-
celebrity that comes to everyone's mind.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
The first. Anyways, the point is.
Yeah, don't. I knew
I
the
don't-
direction
I
you were
was-
getting ready to go. I was like, no.
Not
I'm not.
worth it.
I'm not
As
gonna.
the editor of this podcast,
I'm not gonna
please don't
touch.
do that.
I'm not gonna touch Alec Baldwin. The issue I see with The Sims just becoming like a service where they're just gonna sell the same game forever,
Yeah.
right? Is that we all know where this is going, where this is not going to be an isolated incident.
Well, yeah, I mean, but The
This
Sims
is
is
a
not the first one to do that.
No,
lots
no,
of games.
but this is a big one.
It is big in the sense that the series has been around since like the NES,
And
and
this-
now they're just gonna homogenize it into
So-
yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Did you
Any other
any news? Ty? Any news?
It's been a pretty slow week since I haven't actually seen the state of play.
Yeah.
Ubisoft canceled all their press tours for Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Not surprising.
Why?
There's another one too.
It's, people don't think it looks very good,
Okay.
which is not that surprising because every Assassin's Creed game has looked worse since Black Flag.
I heard some news
Yeah.
since
Black Flag?
I heard some news that's pretty interesting. I've heard, and I might be wrong about this. This is some recent news, or maybe it's not because I'm very uninformed. I've heard that Nintendo launched a lawsuit against the creators of Power World.
No, they did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
they absolutely
that,
did.
That's
And
terrible.
I think we talked about that last week, didn't we?
I don't think we did.
No,
Maybe
we
not.
didn't.
No,
It did
but
happen a couple
It happened,
weeks ago.
I think, a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. But
They've kind of dropped the idea of them stealing Pokemon designs, and now they're just hitting them with patent infringement, as in like a game where you go around and collect things with balls is patent infringement.
you know,
We don't know the. I don't think they've released the specifics of what patent they're infringing, but it is a nightmarish world where video game companies or anyone can sue based on the
reminds-
well, I
concept
don't think
of an
this is
idea.
I don't think this is any shock
Yeah.
because Nintendo are the absolute like boogeyman for small game creators because
especially
because
the Pokemon company, yeah.
and the Pokemon company
is
specifically.
suing them,
But
yeah.
this is the thing is that Nintendo, they are perhaps the most ruthless legal department
Yeah.
of any major game studio.
There's a whole mythos around Nintendo ninjas that you don't want to get.
Nintendo ninjas
That
that
Kit
you
and
don't wanna
Krista have confirmed exist. They're like, no, they exist.
Yeah, right.
We've been pulled
That's
into the room
great.
by them
Yeah.
before.
So that's
yeah,
sad.
I think that we live in a the nightmare is that like any company that is a for-profit company that can
Yeah, we'll sue you.
launch a lawsuit against you will
Yeah,
at any
yeah.
given time. And it's nightmarish that we live in a world where these lawsuits are cheap for these companies to make. And also, I saw some a legal analyst breaking it down. He's like, Nintendo have had like over 100 lawsuits in the last 20 years. And they've settled a lot of them. They've won more than half of them, and they've lost 3. And so they don't frivolously sue people. They are within the bounds of the law. And it made me realize just like how messed up the legal system is, because these companies wouldn't be doing these lawsuits if the laws didn't allow it for it, if it wasn't within the bounds of the law.
Right.
So copyright law is so bad, and it's largely bad in the digital space because the people who decided, our judges, our judiciaries, have no experience with digital anything.
No.
And they have no idea what it means, so they think you can copyright something like throwing a ball at an enemy to capture them, because in the real world, if you designed a ball, you could trademark or copyright that
You could
ball.
patent the ball
So why
design,
can't you in
yeah.
a digital space? They don't understand the
Well,
fundamental difference there.
Yeah.
You don't
And
have
we've
to
created
convince us.
ghoulish
Someone
laws.
pointed out that like if that is a successful lawsuit, the idea of like you capture creatures with balls, then Ubisoft should be able to sue Nintendo for Breath of the Wild because they had towers that increased the space you get on the map, and that was first in Assassin's Creed.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's
okay.
patently silly when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reverse is also patently silly. Is that
Yeah,
like
well,
just throwing balls.
throwing
Which
balls
I
to catch
should. I want to
creatures,
clarify. I'm not saying that was an example of what I think it is, but I just read an article.
We don't actually know.
I read an
Right.
article that said that a lawyer said that based on what he read, it sounds like they've given
okay.
up
I have a different theory
on the idea
what-
of
I
the
have a different
pals
theory
just
on what-
looking really similar.
I think that is it. I think the thing is that when you go through the PAL deck and you go through the
It looks
Pokédex,
so similar.
there are some
Okay.
where it's like it's clearly just the creature with like a flower on its head, where the Pokemon had a flower like on its chest.
the Lucario
Okay.
one is really damning because it's just
a
like
recolor.
Who here has played
they're
Power World?
um,
Okay, you two have
I've
played
never
Power
played,
World.
yeah.
We have not played Power World.
No.
Once again,
we
line
have
up.
separated this table well.
we
Yeah,
separated this table
We
once
did.
again.
correct.
All I'll say is, my fellow Americans and the world.
I mean, they're suing them in Japan, so you need to adjust.
No,
the
I said the
Japanese.
world.
he said the
My
world. He said
fellow
the world.
Americans and the rest of the world. I do not want to play Power World. I don't even like Power World. But I defend your right to play Power World. You should be able to play your Pokemon ripoff game where you get to shoot Pikachu or something. I don't know anything about Pal World. You should be able to.
I'm glad
and
you're
you
commenting on it
and,
since you don't know anything. Oh,
excuse me.
I'm sorry.
And you should be able to shoot Pikachu in real life. If I saw that little electric rat coming up to me, I would stomp it till it was a little yellow stain on the ground.
Okay, thank you. I was like, please say this is over. The one thing I do want to talk about that's news related is everybody thinks that the Switch 2 is going to be revealed soon.
Right.
Which could be just because a bunch of indie devs have recently shown the Switch 2, and so there's a lot of chatter about it. I think that historically it doesn't really look like Nintendo would like have a big lineup like Zelda's about to come out and then they show off a console that like
the timing is weird, but it's manufacturing in China. Like they can't stop it from leaking at this point, so they've got to show it.
Well, I'm gonna say, I know that there were some pictures that leaked that have now been confirmed to not be, real photos.
The photos were real. The schematics were the mock-ups were done by the person who took the photos and was just like trying to estimate what it would look like.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say. I hope that we never get a Switch 2. And the reason is that Nintendo fans have been teased with a Switch 2 for years now.
Yeah.
And I hope
no more video games until we get a Dreamcast 2.
No more video games.
The sequel
As
to
I've
the
said,
Dreamcast.
video games are over. Video games are
What
done.
about this? The Switch 2 and one of its launch titles is Shenmue 3.
We already had Shenmue 3, and it was terrible.
They ignore it.
I don't know what you mean.
Just Shenmue again.
Oh, it's just Shenmue again.
They make a good Shenmue 3, is what he's saying.
Sonic the Hedgehog is the main character.
Like Crash Bandicoot 4. There was lots of Crash Bandicoots in between. But
right, but they,
let's just do 4.
Yeah, but they literally named it Shenmue 3.
No, I know. Just
they
ignore it.
This one uses Roman numerals.
What if they do one of those pretentious,
that's smart.
one of those pretentious
Shenmue.
things of like,
do the Metal Gear Solid.
It's the Japanese 3.
Oh my god!
It's TRI.
Yeah,
that's it. Okay, it's like Shenmue, but with an all-white cast.
Yeah, perfect.
No,
that's so exciting.
That sounds way better.
That sounds so good. That really appeals to me. Okay,
so here's what I'm just to wrap up the news. What are you hoping for from the Switch 2? And I'll go first.
Go first.
No, I mean like every Nintendo fan. There's two fans inside every Nintendo fan. The one that wants
both are gay.
Yeah.
The one that wants the weird and wacky, and the one that just wants them to do it again. Right? Do you want an N64 that throws everything out and starts over and gives you a Trident controller, or do you want the Super Nintendo that just does what the last one did, only better? Here's what I'm hoping.
Go first.
I'm going first.
Go first.
I'm going first.
No,
I think at this point with the Switch, because I am still excited about games coming out on the Switch. Like I'm excited for Zelda and Mario and Luigi, and I'm also excited for I'm super excited for Mario Party Jamboree. That I kind of want it to be what the Game Boy Advance was to the Game Boy Color, because the reason I picked that one is because the Game Boy Advance was the same concept. But the other day I was playing a game on my Game Boy Color, and then I was trying to get something secret set up, and I started playing with a classic Game Boy Advance. Oh my gosh, it's so much more comfortable. The screen is so much better.
The original Game Boy Advance, the ergonomics of it and everything
it's perfect.
It's one of their best consoles.
And
as far as just
the SP is one of their worst.
As for the SP is so bad.
The
SP is really bad.
The SP is comically bad.
If it wasn't for the backlight, that's why you bought it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
that's true.
What
you were saying?
I've got a mod for the original one that puts a backlit screen,
and it's perfect.
It's
literally just better.
No, but that's the thing is I was like, doing that made me realize it kind of quieted down the weird and wacky one. I want to switch to be like a Game Boy Advance, to just have the same kind of games,
but a pretty big technological
huge
leap.
jump.
Yeah,
a huge jump. Not a huge jump, because if you say huge jump, look at like Super Mario World and then Mario 64. That's a big jump, where like the game's not even played the same.
Sure.
Like we can't do that again, and like I don't want to have like a crank on the next Nintendo console. There's a part of me that wants that. But honestly, I'm at the point where I want the Switch 2 to be Game Boy Color to Game Boy Advance.
My opinion about this is very controversial, so why don't we let the other two go first?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say that, I mean, obviously I don't want them to do either. I already said that. I want them to not make it. I don't want any more of this.
But if it has to come out,
if it has to come out,
stick to your guns.
This is the thing. If it has to come out, I would rather they do something completely insane on the one hand,
Yeah.
it's similar to what you're saying. On the one hand, I would love them to do something insane because it would justify the existence of this device. Because right now, I feel like nothing justifies its existence at all. Everything is just something that is waiting to be played on a PC, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a unique thing like a DS, right?
Yeah.
Then, if they release the DS, 4DS, if they release the 4DS, it has 4 screens.
Separate screens.
4 screens.
For playing GoldenEye.
If they release that, then there's a good chance I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Right?
The weird and wacky
one. The weird and wacky one has got a higher chance of me purchasing it so that I can play all these exciting games. If they release something that's just the Switch again, there's no chance I'm buying it. There's no chance I'm buying it. I'm going to wait until the crack team of scientists who make those emulators can let me play any game that I dump to my computer.
Right.
So
well, I'll get an extra controller so you can play Mario Party with me.
That sounds great.
I will not get an extra controller, and you're not allowed to play my Switch.
I don't want to play with you.
My mom said you can't come over
anymore.
anymore.
Can't come over anymore.
Right. Our mom said you can't come
Our
over
mom
anymore.
has banned you from her house.
Yeah,
from
right.
the house.
That's fair.
Go ahead. Ty, what's your
all
thoughts
right.
on this?
So I'm kind of with you, Devin, on this.
Every Nintendo fan.
I want something that's better. I traditionally, I'll tell a little story if I may. I bought AMD graphics cards because the Radeons they were cheaper, and I bought my first NVIDIA card. This has been many years ago now. And then I discovered DLSS was actual magic made by Wizards.
It is.
And so I just want a Switch with it could be the regular Switch and it has DLSS and it will look like the greatest games on any console.
Yeah.
Not as good as PC, but on any console. So that's kind of what I want. I just want more, but I have one big caveat, and this is an important one. I want something to surprise me. I want something that I'm very surprised.
Somebody forgot.
There's
to
no way that
mute
Mike's
their
picked that up.
phone.
There's no way that Mike's picked that up.
We picked it up.
We're struggling.
I want something to surprise me. I want to be looking at this thing and going, "Oh yeah, that Metroid Prime looks so good in 4K or whatever." And then they unveil a feature, and it can be a software feature. I thought some kind of like I said that like the Wii U's best feature wasn't anything in the hardware; it was Miiverse. Because Miiverse and the way it integrated into games, if they had actually doubled down on that, and every game had been like Death Stranding with like a social media interaction,
if we're talking about software improvements, then that seems like just a necessity because the Switches is terrible.
Not just improvements, but innovation, like the idea of connecting games and being built in. I want something. It doesn't have to be hardware, but I want something to surprise me. Some hook that goes, "Oh, this console is still that little wacky Nintendo magic." And it doesn't have to be a big one. You don't have to design your whole hardware around it. It can be just a Switch. But I want that moment of, "Oh, that's clever."
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I'm looking for.
So you don't need.
Also,
you don't
it needs to be called the Switcheroo, and I will die on this hill that that's the best name.
Switcheroo is a good name.
Switcheroo is a great name.
We're gonna run into a Wii U problem.
Kind of, but I think it's just different enough that people will understand.
I want him to do
I
want him to do a console called the Switcheroo, and then they just release the Switch. No alterations of any kind.
No one
and they
notices.
pull the Switcheroo on us.
They pull the
All right,
Switcheroo.
let's hear the
Great.
controversial
Let's hear
opinion.
the controversy.
So, my
Controversy.
favorite Nintendo console is the 3DS.
Oh no, wait, that's a good
Oh,
one.
okay. The
and
3DS.
You
That's
pre-booed
It is
him,
what
and
you're
now you
talking.
regret
It is the bigger, better of the two, but it also has
No,
the
that's good.
3D, which is very innovative.
Yeah.
So it was like the best of both worlds. You
Yeah.
got a little bit of everything.
I do like the 3DS a lot.
Gyro controls fantastic on the 3DS.
super good.
But when I look back through the history of Nintendo, I don't usually like their innovative consoles very much because it feels like I'm playing
Nintendo
a test.
Wii.
The funny thing is that as much as I like the Wii, I actually had a terrible experience playing it. My controllers constantly desynced. Like I couldn't get motion controls or aiming controls to ever work on the console. Like I know intellectually that it's a good console that people have really good experiences with.
I
had a
don't know
terrible
motor
time
control.
No.
You're just going
I
like
was
this the
gonna
whole time. Desyncing
I had a lot. I have a lot of fond memories.
They are an electromagnet.
We've never
and they
told
just,
Ethan, but he has seizures. He doesn't notice them,
only when playing Nintendo
only when playing
consoles.
Nintendo consoles.
I was
I
wondering
do agree.
who's been
he
drawing
completely blacks out with
Yeah.
PlayStation.
I was wondering who's been drawing lines through all the paintings I'm working on whenever I turn
It's
my back.
just you.
There's just a line
just
of paint
you.
through them.
Yeah,
No,
it's just
Somebody's turned on a
twice.
Nintendo Switch in your presence.
Yeah, it's
Twice
Mario
I
Paint.
like we didn't have like a lot of money to replace controllers growing up,
Right,
so
right.
especially when the Wii remotes were so much more expensive.
Yeah.
Twice I've had Wii remotes where a gyro is broken in them.
Mhm.
Like on my personal consoles, like the gyro would just go all over the place. And then twice I've had a setup where, because of light hitting the background, the aiming controls would sometimes just freak out. And so I had a terrible experience playing the Wii. So as much as I love games, most of the games I like on it, I wound up playing on the Wii U and liking them better.
Yeah.
So like even like the first game I played through on the Wii U was The Last Story. I just whipped out the old disc and played it and had a way better time. Even though it didn't rely on aiming or motion controls, it just looked a little better.
Sure.
So that's the only console where like the innovative one I really, really, really enjoyed. When I was playing like the DS, I was like, this is fantastic. Whatever's coming next is going to be better because I'm running into the
DS would
walls
be an
constantly.
example of innovation,
and
then 3DS's iteration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo. I love the Super Nintendo. When I
it's an
played the
iteration,
NES, I'd be
yeah.
like, well, I like this, but I know what comes next. is
And you
better.
like the GameCube more than the N64.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I like the Game Boy Advance more than the Game Boy in general. Like but I have disliked the Switch so much. I'd rather them do something else.
Oh, wow.
That's the controversial opinion I have.
But you're
is
an
that
iterative guy, so maybe the Switch 2
maybe,
will
but
sell you.
I love the NES. I am crazy about the Super Nintendo. I love the DS. I'm crazy about the 3DS. I liked the Nintendo 64, and I love the GameCube. So normally it's like a little step up. I have not had a good time with the Switch. I have not liked that console at all.
Really?
And so I'm kind of like of the mind of like, I'd rather them just start something else. Start something that I might like. And then if they do an iterative and I go, or if they do like an innovative and I go, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
Then I'd be looking forward to, you know, when I'm 47, the next one comes out and I might actually enjoy it a lot more.
Right.
So I have a hard time squaring my
thanks for
opinions
being on the pod.
You know what?
you have to leave now.
You know what? I'm changing my answer. Ethan convinced me, not with his argument, but kind of just the way you said it reminded me of my own thoughts.
Right.
Which it really just was the hypnot.
You were reminded of your own.
I was reminded of my own thoughts in a past sort of.
Okay. I thought
no.
I thought you meant your current thoughts.
Not just now.
No. Like your mind is separated into two parts. You have current thoughts going on over here.
Really bad schizophrenia.
No. My own thoughts. You saying about the Switch. The Switch, it's really been a disappointing console for you, and it's not been as innovative as the DS was, and therefore if they made an iterative version of the Switch, it wouldn't be a great idea. I mean, if it's the same as the Switch and the Switch was not good for you, then the next one's not going to be. But I had said that I would love innovation because it would make me buy a Nintendo product, or it would increase the chances of me buying a Nintendo product. I'm going to say that I don't actually want that, because when I was playing the Switch, this was some years ago now, the last time I ever turned on the Nintendo Switch, I had a moment where I thought, I really like this game that I'm playing, and I really hate that I'm playing it on a Nintendo Switch, and I shut it off, and I did not finish that game on the Nintendo Switch. I finished it on my beautiful TV. It wasn't as nice as my current TV, but it was beautiful and it ran great. It was seamless. It was just wonderful. Okay. And I played it, and then it made me think, this isn't a bad thing. Nintendo puts out games that I like, and I can just not play them on the Nintendo Switch. Right. I bought Metroid Dread the day that it came out, and then I played it on my computer like a week later.
Right.
It was not a terrible wait. This is not a bad thing.
How has your opinion changed? We're
Because
all dying
what
of
I'm saying
anticipation.
is that I do want something that's iterative, because I don't want anything to change. I just want to play Switch 2 games on my computer. I don't want Nintendo to make a product that I'm going to buy.
Who could have guessed Quentin's point was emulation?
Who could have guessed?
Who could have guessed?
Who could have guessed?
But-
I like how the question you asked specifically was, what are your hopes for the Switch 2?
Yeah.
And we got, I don't want a Switch 2. I want them to do something completely
correct.
But
more
I'm
like
saying,
a 3DS or a
that's saying
an N64.
That's saying something
Or-
that's innovative. Okay.
But it's not a Switch 2. It has nothing to do with the Switch 2, which is what he actually asked.
Yeah. Well, I think Ethan's point was that you hope that it is.
You made a good
different.
I
point.
hope that it isn't a Switch 2.
Yeah, exactly. You hope that it's weird.
So
and
you
wacky.
hope that there isn't a Switch 2. I'm saying
You want a Switch 2?
I want
the
a Switch
opposite
2
reasons.
that
Right.
is the same. I want something that will just let me play good Nintendo games and not have to purchase a Nintendo console.
Right.
All right?
Makes sense.
I like your games sometimes.
I think the two of you fell on the
Incredible.
same side that you want
Iterative.
an iterative.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you did too.
Mostly.
Yeah.
but
Mostly.
you
I want
want
something
Something
to surprise.
Because-
you want an iterative the same way the 3DS was iterative. It's iterative, but it's still very innovative.
Yeah.
I
The
would
reason I
love
think
something
Game
there.
Boy Color to Game Boy Advance is so perfect is
There
because
isn't anything surprising.
is because the Advance is literally just better, but I mean like it's a 24-bit.
It's a lot better.
It's a 24-bit console, and the previous one was 8.
Yeah.
So like I'm
lot
excited by the idea of 4 gigs of RAM going to 12, and like a 720 screen going to a 1080 screen, like something that's much better, and Joy-Cons that don't drift. Please.
Well,
After our points, we're gonna play this podcast's favorite and only game so far. Definitely didn't rip it off any other podcast.
no.
There are no
Can't
other
go and
podcasts.
find
There
it.
aren't any others.
I've
I
never
haven't
seen
watched
another
any.
one.
We're gonna
I've
be
never-
playing-
really.
Are they
never-
on
empirical
Vimeo?
evidence.
Yeah, no, they're
The
not
only
on, no.
podcast I've ever seen is that one where Alan Alda talks to elderly people.
Okay,
I
anyways,
really like that one.
we're gonna be playing more or less Nintendo Switch Edition because the Switch might be going away. Might be the last
I
time.
hope it's going away.
So I wanted to ask you guys about a time when a video game surprised you with the fact that it was not just good but really good. Like it doesn't have the right to be this good. The example that I have that I haven't personally played is something that I run into a lot online. Is apparently
This is also a games I haven't played but have a strong opinion about.
is apparently like what got me started thinking about it was this discourse online in a small little echo chamber that I sometimes pass through, was that apparently there's a Barbie game for the DS or maybe the 3DS or maybe the Wii, or maybe it came out on all of them,
Right.
about racing horses. And for some reason, people still talk about and play this game. And it's got like crazy good reviews on like IGN and all sorts of like game review websites. And apparently it is an upsettingly good game in the weird genre of shovelware Barbie games. And it got me thinking about times in the past where like there's a really good game that really shouldn't be. Some little shovelware studio, someone there just like accidentally fell backwards into making a good game, and you play the game and then at some point you realize like it's strange that I'm playing this game and enjoying it as much as I am, because I shouldn't be, because this is a game that should be bad by every signifier throughout the rest of my experience should be bad. So I wanted to throw that to you guys and see what you guys thought about that as a subject, or if you had a specific time when you can recall that happening.
I don't play video game schlock of poor make, so I don't know of a single thing.
I honestly do have one, but
someone
it's
did
going to
say-
be surprising.
Someone
for
did
everybody.
say
Well,
a
surprise
game that
us, yeah.
shouldn't be as good as it actually is. Someone said every single Hideo Kojima game.
I mean,
It shouldn't be. It is. They're all. He said they're all
That
phenomenal.
wasn't someone. That was me.
That's true. I didn't want to out
Yeah.
you. They shouldn't be phenomenal, but they
no.
all are. I mean, they just shouldn't be.
I mean, you can say in relative terms, we'll say, because I think that the issue is like, I wouldn't want to disparage any of these small game creators, of course.
Sure, right.
Because some of them are of lesser means than a AAA studio, we'll
Yeah,
say.
maybe bad is a harsh word. You
Yeah,
just wanna use,
'cause-
like,
yeah.
shouldn't have been that good.
Yes,
Yeah.
the last game that I played that I thought like, okay, I got it on sale. Doubt it's going to be anything all that amazing. Was Red Dead Redemption 2. No, I'm kidding. That's not. No, that's a big major game.
Yeah.
No, Trek to Yomi. Trek to
I
Yomi
legit
was.
thought you were about to say a Shrek game, and I was like,
that would have been funny.
"You're
No, I don't-
lying."
Shrek to Yomi.
Shrek to Yomi is a fan mod. Shrek to what?
Just the Shrek 2.
Oh, the Shrek 2 game? I've never played it.
It's called Royal Rumble or something. It's like a 3D.
All right. Well, when we start our
think it is
when we start our
No,
Let's
it
Play.
is. It's like Power Stone.
Is it
All right.
actually good though?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Oh,
well, when we start our Let's Play channel, we can play Shrek 2 on it.
Shrek 2.
Yeah.
No, but you were
Perfect.
saying Trek to Yomi.
Trek to Yomi,
It's a good game.
I played it almost at the exact same time that Ghost of Tsushima came out on the PS5.
Okay.
Right? And I hadn't played Ghost of Tsushima, but I saw footage of it online.
Outside of setting, they're not much alike.
And I was like, okay, samurai game, setting is the same. And I looked at it and I was like, oh man, this game looks huge. The Ghost of Tsushima, it's huge. It looks like a massive budget. I couldn't tell you what its budget is, but it looked massive. Yeah. Clearly a huge production.
Sucker Punch.
Sly
Cooper guys.
And also, I think they were also got a proprietary contract for initial release with Sony. So I'm sure they had a little bit of cash from Sony doing that. So I'm sure they could funnel that into the production.
Yeah.
I saw Trek to Yomi because I could not afford, at the time, Ghost of Tsushima, and I saw Trek to Yomi, and I was like, why not? Now, I do not like games set in Japan or relating to Japanese culture.
Sure.
So against my better judgment, I played a game about Japanese culture. And I loved it. I loved it to the point where, I played through it 3 times. I got all the achievements.
Yeah.
I just loved it. And it was just this short, small experience. Every single frame of it looked like they just painted it.
It's a beautiful game.
It was stunning how well they did.
Especially on like an OLED screen.
And the English voice acting and the Japanese voice acting were both very pleasant, I thought. I didn't hate the English or the Japanese. I have trouble with voice acting in games most of the time. So the fact that I did not despise the voice acting in that game is impressive.
Yeah.
I really loved it. And then I played Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game that I should have liked a lot more, and I didn't. So it was an interesting little role reversal. Yeah. But I don't want to disparage Trek to Yomi's creators and say that it was a terrible game.
You were
that it looked like a terrible game.
How good it was.
I thought that it would be a fun game, and it turned out to be an all-time great.
I think mine, and I am going to disparage a small creator.
That's okay.
I have several.
Ty's throwing out everything.
That's
okay. For mine, it was the game Stardew Valley, because I first saw this game when it was coming out, and I was like, I don't like this art style. I don't like the way the characters look and stuff.
Right. I like the game a lot.
And I was like, oh boy.
We'd also just gotten burnt by Chucklefish because they had just produced Starbound when we first when they released it.
Oh yeah,
and
Starbound
was a really bad launch.
Bad at
launch. Really bad.
And so
launch.
and so I was like, oh boy, another farming sim game. These are a dime a dozen. There's no reason this game should be good, right?
Ethan's
suffocating. He's lost it. And
nightmares.
then I played Stardew Valley, and I was like, I like everything about this.
It was great.
I like every other.
Sure?
I like every other thing about this game.
I think we could call it like a gaming phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon.
I
couldn't.
I
was shocked.
I was just about to say, I
should not have enjoyed it to what I did. The other game that is probably stronger feeling is a game called The Messenger. I saw The Messenger. It is it looks very like a very simple like side scroller game. It's kind of like how you were talking about like Trek to Yomi being a game that you liked the look of, you thought looked okay. That was The Messenger. I didn't think it was going to be bad. Like an all-time platform.
I also
it is absolutely incredible.
I'll have to
I
look
thought
that
the
up.
gimmick in the gimmick,
The Messenger,
that normally tells me that the game is not good. But The Messenger is fantastic.
Yeah, right.
Normally style shift
it's
thing.
relying too heavily on
goes
its gimmick or something, but The Messenger doesn't. It's like
That's great.
Absolutely
funny story about
game.
The Messenger. I saw The Messenger, and I was like, oh, I want to play that. But then around the same time, Yacht Club Games released a game. What's it called, Ty? You play as a robot ninja.
Oh,
what?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's Yacht Club.
Yeah, no, it was. It's the Shovel Knight people produced a game made by someone else, and I can't.
Oh, it is called. No. We were talking about it the other day. I've just been playing it recently.
You forget.
No. It's the game that Ty
Those
could
are all
neither
around the
tell
same
us
time.
about or say the name.
Gravity
of,
Circuit.
and it was
Is it Gravity Circuit?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Gravity Circuit.
So, but
You are a robot ninja.
Really?
Listen,
Michael B, can you look up?
I'm pretty sure it's Gravity Circuit
on your phone. Can you look up? Now, Gravity Circuit.
No,
is
it's not Gravity
is a recent
Circuit.
game.
It's Gravity Rush. It's Gravity something.
No, Michael B, look up Yacht Club Games Robot Ninja. But anyways, I played that game. I played the Yacht Club games. No, not Gravity
not
Circuit.
Gravity Circuit. Gravity Circuit is what I was thinking. Robot. Is that not a Robot Ninja, man?
Yeah, no, but that's not the game that released around the same time.
It is not.
It is more recent.
I'm trying to think. So anyways, I played that one, and I was like, man, they really doubled back on all the things they said they were going to do. Probably like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
let me get this straight. Is this the podcast, the video game podcast, where no one knows what they're talking about at all?
Yeah, that's why you're
remembered it
here.
eventually.
All right.
Cyber Shadow. That's what it was called.
Never. Never heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I found out the other day.
No,
that
but
that
yeah.
Flash game where you kick a cat through a window is still online.
Wow.
I've never
They've
heard of
backed
that,
up
never
a lot
heard
of
of
those
That's like the
Flash
most
games.
infamous.
And I've kicked a
old
lot of
Flash
cats
Devin-
through windows.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I played
So,
Cyber Shadow
yeah.
thinking it was the Messenger and was like, man, they really
It's
just
really not that
changed
good.
They
everything.
changed it
I was
up a
waiting
lot.
for it to shift because it's got like an 8-bit art style. I'm like, when does it ever shift to 16-bit? And then I
16-bit.
beat the game and I was like,
Well, it changes
they just
from
gave up
a.
that
It
idea.
changes from when you shift. It changes from a like a Castlevania style level based game to a Metroidvania style game
That's
in
pretty cool.
16-bit,
That's
and
pretty
all the
sick.
levels become connected, and you get new like pathways and
Pretty
stuff.
sick.
I absolutely love it. It's a
So
terrific game.
mine,
So what's yours? Then?
Mine is in 2017. The Switch had just come out. I was done playing Breath of the Wild, and well, I wasn't done, but I was
You're
like,
never done.
I was gonna
playing
say, I don't
Yeah,
even believe you
Wild.
beating it now.
but
I
but you know,
don't believe it.
yeah,
Robot Samurai.
Gravity Circuits.
Is it Robot Samurai? Yeah.
No, so then a little indie studio was being praised because they ported their game to Switch, and they said it only took 2 weeks. They were really happy with porting to Switch, and it was literally just a little $20 game, and I bought it just to have, it looked fun, and literally I think I only bought it because David Wise did the music for it. But Snake Pass has become a game that I have. If you took I went and I have bought it on everything. I've bought it on Steam. I've bought it on Xbox. I'm going to buy it on my PS5 because I can't describe how much I love the game. Like if I'm stressed out or if I'm like not feeling well, I play Snake Pass. It's so chill, but also like wrapping your brain around how to control the character because it's such a it's a platformer where you can't jump, where like you push the R, you hold down the right trigger and he slithers forward, but you have to go left and right to make him actually slither. You have to wrap your head around little poles to get to the top of it. Like I go into Zen mode. It's my Tetris.
You can't rely on like other gaming experience to play this
Nothing.
game. You have to learn something new.
And there's no enemies, there's no time limit, and there's chill Donkey Kong Country music playing, and it's beautiful. And so like it's one of my favorite games of all time, and it's one of the games that I go back to the most. But it wasn't supposed to be, and it's never going to have a sequel. The developers of it they were just like, oh yeah, it was just a little thing we made. We're going back to making Sonic Racing Transformed and making $1 billion from Sega. So like, I don't even know if the guy who made it, he's a zoologist who like became a game designer, and then he made a game about a snake. I don't know if he's still at Sumo Digital. He might not be there. But that game had no right being like something that I have played hundreds of hours in. It literally only has 4 worlds and like 6 stages per world or something. But I've just
Cool.
Okay.
For me, there are 2.
Yeah.
And one's going to take us really far into the past, and one's pretty recent.
Yeah.
So the
I
one
can guess the one from the past.
I don't
Do
think
it.
you
Yeah.
can.
We'll
Let's
see.
go
Lord of the
for it.
Rings Conquest.
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Lord
I
of the Rings
tried.
Conquest
So
would
you
have to be
do
listed
like
under-
that more than you should.
No. I actually
by
like
any,
that
by any
exact-
logical reason.
Disgust
No,
on
I would
his
argue I
face.
like that
Audio
exactly
listeners
as much
can't
as I
see
should
it.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings Conquest is phenomenally fun garbage.
I
I'm not-
didn't
that's not
mean, to,
really
I
what
didn't
I'm
mean
talking
to
Yeah,
get you started on Lord of the
We
Rings.
won't talk
None
about
of
that.
us want to
There's
hear.
a different
No, yeah.
discussion to be had
Yeah.
about that. No, if we're going back far. We're going back far. Back in the Super Nintendo era,
Okay.
Disney could put out good games
Right.
for their like movie tie-ins,
They could
but a
pay
lot of
people to
other
put out their
animated
games, yeah.
studios couldn't.
Mm.
And one of them was Warner Brothers, who couldn't put out a good video game to save their lives. All the Warner Brothers games back on the Super Nintendo, they still hadn't gotten that this isn't the NES. The
Yeah.
NES ones were pretty good compared to other games. Chip and Dale on the NES,
That's
pretty good.
Disney.
Oh, not sorry. The Roadrunner game on the Atari
yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then there's another one on the NES.
There's also a
think it's-
Roadrunner game on NES that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think the one on the NES that's actually better is a Bugs Bunny game, but I'm not sure. I can't
Maybe.
remember if it's exact. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: they were really struggling, and then they put out Tiny Toons, which is based on a television
Oh,
show
yeah.
and should have been horrid, and it's actually really good.
It's called Buster Busts Loose.
Yes, Buster Busts Loose.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
That's what happened to my computer.
Right, exactly. That game is
Downloaded
shockingly
Buster Bust
good.
Buster
Yeah.
Bust.
You play it and you're
Loose.
like, this should be horrible, and it's actually a pretty solid
The music
NES.
in it goes
Is incredible.
hard.
Goes
Yeah.
hard.
The like Evil Castle.
Okay,
is
so wait,
fantastic.
your answer is Buster Bust Loose is your
Not
pick?
technically. That's the old one. If you go back far enough, it's
Okay.
Buster Bust Loose, which
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Well,
But
I'm
That one doesn't count because that one,
That
one
sounds-
glance at it,
I
you
should
knew
have
it's
said-
going to be
that
amazing.
sounds great.
Yeah.
If I
That
if,
sounds
if
phenomenal.
I
You
know,
released
it's
a
gonna be
game that
amazing.
had bust several times in the title, are you kidding me?
It got
If
all
I
through
saw
it.
that, I
Several,
would.
just twice.
What does several mean?
More than twice.
What do you mean? Several does not mean more than.
That's the definition of several.
Several is more than once.
No, it's more than twice. I'm pretty sure that's the definition of
Someone
several.
has to
Please
decide
help
that.
us out
Somebody
here.
Google
But,
that.
but
Google
to,
that,
to
Google
bring us
that.
back
Several.
to the present, the one that I
Right.
actually have more thoughts about
Yeah.
is I played the game Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night. And
Former Castlevania.
former
dev?
Castlevania dev, I had very, very low expectations.
Yeah.
I like Metroidvanias a lot.
Well, the
Um,
spiritual successors are so hit or
But
miss.
spiritual successors are so hit and miss. And the more I looked at it, I was like, the animations look like a weird PS1.5 game, like the 2,
One
but
and a
there's
half,
like
yeah.
it's on the 1 and there's sparks flying out of it, or it's on the 2 and the disc is made of wood. It's one of those games, right? It's like somewhere in the
Right.
1.5.
Okay.
And at first I thought it was taking like the story seriously, and it's a weird mix of like taking the story very seriously and not taking the story serious, like it's all a joke.
Yeah.
At other times it's very hard to figure out. David Hayter voices one of the characters in it,
Oh.
who is a guy who learned how to be a ninja and a samurai, and his attacks just keep getting more ridiculous. Like he says more things as he's attacking.
he's
Like his
doing
combo
them.
attack
Yeah,
gets to be more and more Japanese words until like the screen
That's
is just completely
insane.
filled up, and he's just like screaming
You're gonna
all
have to
this.
send me a
David
link to this
Hayter
game
say
after
the
this so I can.
Japanese
Yes,
words?
he says
Oh,
all
wow.
of them. It's like
And he's
rin tin
fluent- he's, like, fluent in
and it's like
Japanese.
all the
That's
way.
impressive.
So,
He goes all the way through them, and then the attack gets strong. Like eventually, it's a one-hit kill if you
Yeah,
miss
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But so I was playing it, and after I started to realize it was a comedy, I started really enjoying it. But then I started to lean into the mechanics, and it turned out to be like a shockingly good game.
okay.
Like there are really interesting mechanics that are the perfect Metroidvania stuff. Because I was expecting, when I saw the game, I was expecting it to be a Metroidvania that doesn't really understand Metroidvanias. It's
Yeah.
like get a power, it just shows you where you need to go now on the map.
Right.
But like you get this one power where anytime you like hit an enemy, their like blood shoots into the background, like it will spray all over the background, spray all over the ground.
Yeah.
I had changed it to green because they just have a color slider. You can change it to whatever
Like
you want it
Resident
to.
Evil on the.
Yeah, and so I thought
64.
I was kind of having fun with that. I was like I switch around the color slot. And then I noticed that when you're walking through this one room in the middle of like the castle, there's like a giant fountain in the center, and it was green now. It was a red fountain before, and I turned
right.
it to green. I was like, that's pretty funny. But then you get an ability where you pull all of the blood from the background into yourself to heal yourself, and you can do that like in the middle of a fight. Anytime you've taken a hit, there's a little bit of spray.
Sure.
Anytime you hit an enemy, so you can like pull that in and charge yourself up a little bit. I couldn't figure out where to go next, and then I was like, there's that fountain, and I went there and tried the ability on the fountain, and it drains the fountain, and that's you can go down into it. And that's
Oh.
like the trick. All of the abilities were that way. It's like perfect Metroidvania. They give you a power, they tell you how it works, and then you have to figure out where that works in the environment. There's no
Right.
like arrow pointing you where you're going.
Which I
And
love.
by
in
the
Metroid
end
games,
of it, it was game was very, very funny too. And but by the end of it, I was like, the combat was great, the weapon styles are great, the boss design is fantastic, the humor is spot on, the like aesthetic design of the game is 10 out of 10. It's like
Nice.
this game shouldn't be this good.
Right.
It should have been fine because it's from the developer. It should have been like a really competent Castlevania, but I wound up liking it I liked it more than I liked Symphony of the Night.
Wow.
It was that good. It was so
All right.
so good.
We're gonna need the Merriam-Webster's definition of several.
Oh yeah.
Merriam-Webster's definition.
Okay, the actual definition.
We've never moved on.
No.
The actual
He heard nothing Ethan said the whole time. and
Merriam-Webster's.
He's just been thinking about
Just
that.
that.
What about Oxford?
Oxford is not as good, but I'll take it.
It means more than two, but not many. But most of the time, the word is used for 3 to 5.
3 to
So
5.
more
right.
than two would exclude two. So it's,
More than two or not. I think that's literally what I said.
That is
Yes,
exactly
that
what
is
you
Literally
said.
what I
Yes.
said.
It
was
cannot
more
be
than
two.
two.
You know. I'm sorry. 1 second.
Wait a second.
Oh
we
my
have
God.
to
Hold on,
trust our
hold on.
producer on this.
Wait,
one.
Yeah, we
no,
have
no,
to-
yeah. Oh, wait. I have new evidence to enter.
You have
into,
several problems with
into
this.
into
This is gonna be a text document that says something.
It's gonna be
You're wrong. Yeah. Quentin has just written a text document that says you're wrong and shown it to me.
All right. Listen, you know what? Stand corrected.
Yeah, thank you.
I can see the point.
Yeah, you can see. Thank
see.
you. Thank you.
Thank God.
Ethan, good point about blasphemous or
Good point.
Or whatever the hell you were talking about.
No,
I don't know what
what
you
was
were
the game?
going on about. But,
Bloodstain.
Neither of them hearing anything you said. They're thinking the entire time about this several thing.
No, in my defense, blasphemous
Evil.
is a very
Right,
Castlevania.
yeah, you gotta
game.
defend
It is
And
a
I get-
Metroidvania.
I get it in Bloodstain confused. Yes. Yeah.
all right.
Quentin, what's your topic?
So
Is it about several?
yes, we need to pull up the Merriam-Webster's
I have
definition.
several topics.
The Merriam-Webster's definition of several. I want all 3 listed definitions in order. Put on the screen.
Sure.
Okay. No, my video game question is, did we judge Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts too harshly?
I think we judged Banjo-Kazooie too
Definitively.
kindly.
I
is
knew
the
you would say that.
problem.
Knew you would. You've gotten predictable in your old age, sir. I knew if I brought up Banjo-Kazooie, I'd
That-
lure you into my
yeah.
trap. All right?
That's an interesting one.
Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I have been giving some thought recently. Did we judge it too harshly?
Here, well, I'm pretty passionate about this, so I'll say this. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, like, so here's the problem with Nuts and Bolts is that like, it's very indicative of the era that it was in, right? So I think we've judged. I think a lot of people have judged it too harshly in the sense of there's no redeeming qualities to the game, which is dumb. Because obviously the concept of just having a big sandbox and like building a machine to see if it works and like having the freedom to build a machine that doesn't work and that just crashes and burns and you have to go back is not bad. But it's a Banjo-Kazooie game that's cynical about the fact that it has to be Banjo-Kazooie. Like it's like
Yeah,
It's-
it really
hates the fact that it's Banjo-Kazooie.
that hurts.
They're saying that because it's Banjo-Kazooie, that's what makes it bad. But if it was anything else,
Sort
well,
of.
if it didn't hate
didn't-
that it was a Banjo-Kazooie game,
if the game, like when you play it, the game is so like mad that it has to be Banjo-Kazooie. Like they're making fun of it. It's made by the Banjo-Kazooie devs, sort of. It's made by a different team, but
it's made by Rare.
It's made by Rare.
So
But like
Nobody worked there anymore.
Yeah.
That had
no,
worked
it
on
had been
Banjo-Kazooie.
sacked by
Yeah.
Microsoft.
well, they were unhappy with Microsoft. They were unhappy.
Follow creators, not companies.
Yeah. And the plot of the game is
Tony.
literally like it's not even thinly veiled. It's literally like it makes fun of
well, I mean,
Banjo-Kazooie.
the opening is literally them
Yeah.
going, "No one likes collectathons," and then getting rid of.
Specifically a computer with mouse for hands showing up and saying no one likes collectathons.
Right.
And that
I
you
don't
need
think
to be a
yeah,
shooter.
yeah.
So like it's very
So-
cynical. Obviously the devs were unhappy where they were. So the game is
But if it didn't have the self-hatred, if you
If it didn't have
excise
the-
that element, you think that it would overall.
well, if you excise
judged
that
it too
element,
harshly.
if it just came out and no Banjo-Kazooie labeling whatsoever, it would be like a 5 out of 10. It would be
with
like
that soundtrack and all that.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. It would have an
the
amazing.
The
yeah,
music is great.
The music's great.
I think most people would agree. Like all the renditions on that soundtrack. are phenomenal.
Grant Kirkhope is a great composer, and thankfully in video games the music is usually protected because music is music. It's not like a game where like the production
would
can
hope
just
so.
go awry, because
Mhm.
music is a singular art form, whereas video games is a collective art form. It's like a bunch of art forms coming together: engineering, visuals, music, all that stuff. So I would think it would be like a 6 out of 10. You're like, interesting concept, but
pretty
not
fun game. Not
pretty fun
not
game.
the vitriolic hatred.
Oh yeah,
that
but people
you
listed
think.
it as like a 1 out of 10, and that's not fair.
Okay.
Yeah, the question was if I believe
too harsh?
were we too harsh on
Yeah,
Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts?
Did we judge
The
Nuts and
correct
Bolts too
answer,
harshly?
my answer that I believe to be correct is yes, but only slightly.
Okay.
Yes,
All
but
right.
only slightly. You're all perfectly correct in that, like, if it wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie game, it probably would have been received a little bit better, if
Yeah.
not just for the music. But it's one of those instances. It's like Metroid Prime Federation Force. It's an okay game. Don't release it without releasing Metroid Samus Returns first, because it's been so long since an actual Metroid game came
or at
out.
least announcing it.
Yeah, that game gets all the hate, and it's a perfectly fine game. Federation Force is like a 7 out of 10. People hated it and gave it like 2s because, it had been 10 years since we had a proper Metroid game. It had been a ridiculous amount of time. Nuts and Bolts suffers from the same thing. It's been a long time since we had a proper Banjo game. There had been it was at a different studio, and we were wondering what was going to happen. They should have released an actual Banjo game first, which they never ended up doing. So, but if you take that out of the equation, what does the game look like? Well, it's still like a 4 out of 10 game. But it's not like set your house on fire and move to the woods kind of bad.
Right.
And so, yes, but only slightly.
Okay. That's fair.
No. Let me clarify. If it wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie game, it probably would be received better in that no, it would not have been received at all because no one would have picked the game up off the shelf. My thought is, so there's a couple problems.
Michael B. would absolutely buy a game called Nuts and Bolts.
Buster busts loose with some nuts and bolts. So
Buster busts bolts.
Buster busts bolts.
That would be a really.
It has some problems.
Yeah.
Listen, it has some problems that I think transcend the fact that it's a Banjo game. Cynical about the fact that it had to be a Banjo game, which is funny because another thing that we've talked about, I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast yet, is about times when developers like didn't want to make a game and were forced to. How much that sucks.
Right. It's just terrible for everybody.
But the thing with Nuts and Bolts, it has a couple problems that keep it from being good on its own. And one of them is one of your favorite subjects to bring up is just like, how much fun is it to just move your character around?
Yeah.
And the problem with Nuts and Bolts is you get out of the car and it's just terrible. Anytime you're not moving inside of a vehicle, you feel like you're wasting a lot of time and you feel like there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
And the other one is that they give you a lot of options. I actually really like the way you build machines in the game,
too, yeah.
but they don't give you anything interesting to do with them. Other than get from point A to point B faster, but there's actually a lot of cool things you can do with, like, people have just like fooling around have made all sorts of really interesting things, but there's no practical use for them in the game. So it has all these tools that are really neat, but if you don't give me something to use with them, then why don't I just build the smallest, fastest thing that gets me from here to there every single time? Like, why don't I just build hyper efficient to get me from here to there? There's also a content gap where there's just nothing to do in a lot of the worlds. Like, people have shown a lot of the worlds look like test worlds. You're just driving around.
Especially the later ones. There's just nothing.
Especially if you go underground. The underground is like completely empty.
Well,
sorry, I'm thinking of Tears of the Kingdom. I've been giving a review of Tears of the Kingdom the whole time.
I was just about to say, that's Tears of the
problem
Kingdom.
with Banjo is that, well, it's similar, but it is that there isn't a lot to do in a lot of the areas. So like someone pointed out that there's like a spiral on this hilltop, and they were like, oh, I'm going to get out of my car and walk up to the top of this hilltop. Yeah. And you get up there, and there's nothing.
That's a lot.
Because there's nothing anywhere. So I think the issue is more, it's not that I think if you're talking about, like, were we too hard on it? Probably some people were way too hard. Like, the internet in general is way too dismissive. But the issue is that it's a game that doesn't give you, it has a neat toolkit that we could have talked more about. That's the thing I would say that we were too hard on. The toolkit is neat. Building machines is fun and neat, and they are very cool. The issue is, when we say too hard, is what's the point in giving me a really cool vehicle building set if I can't use it for anything? If there's no function of it in game, if there's nothing to do, that's a tech demo. Right. And so I don't know that we can be too hard on that. Is that, like, that could be the coolest world, like the coolest vehicle building kit in any video game ever. And if there's nothing to use with it, then it's not better than the worst one that had a game attached to it.
It had like no realization. If anything, you mentioned Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom is kind of bizarrely proof that the idea works. Like, the idea of like a big world where there's lots of stuff to do, but then you like build a vehicle. It's like, I almost wish Nuts and Bolts had thrown out like the weird building garage thing and like the mumbo wrench, you just put it together in the world using things in the world. Even just that little change would have made the worlds more populated, more interesting, and it would keep you from just being in a menu and then being in an empty world and then being in a menu and then being in an empty world.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say on the question, did we judge Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts too harshly?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say no. We didn't judge it harshly enough. You know, I was sitting in a forest, vast, dark, upon a large flat stone by the water, pondering this question.
Right.
And at first I thought, we just judged it too harshly. And then I did a little thing called coming to reality.
Then you read your Bible and you understand that harsh
I came
judgments.
to reality when I saw a car on the way home. There was another on the road when I was driving home.
Right.
And I thought, we didn't judge it harsh enough. Because I don't live in a fantasy world like you two gentlemen, okay? You're fine.
He baited us, I guess.
I didn't live in a fantasy world. When you say, well, if it didn't have the self-hatred, it wouldn't be quite so bad. It'd be maybe a 6 out of 10. And you say, you know, well, if it wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie game, it'd be maybe a 4 out of 10. Great, but, you know, if it was a Banjo-Kazooie game, it wouldn't be so terrible. All right? And let me just tell you this. You're both wrong. We don't live in a fantasy world. This if. We live in a world where Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts hates itself. It hates that it exists.
Fair.
It hates its predecessors. It hates life. It hates God. You say, well, if it wasn't a Banjo-Kazooie game, well, guess what, buddy? It doesn't exist in any other form. It is a Banjo-Kazooie game. It hates itself. It hates its predecessor. It hates
game.
God. It's the
most
last
recent,
Banjo-Kazooie
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, unless you count
Horrible.
ukulele.
We don't.
Well, if we did, then Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts wouldn't look as bad.
Oh, okay.
Oof.
Anyways, that's all
So
I have to say about it.
Quentin laid a trap, and we fell into it. So we should have known better.
Yeah, definitely should have
we
known
should
better.
have known better.
I'm not answering any more of your questions.
Yeah. Quentin doesn't get a segment anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
Hello.
sorry.
he's done.
Thought Ethan's answer was,
done.
I respected it.
He's done.
Wasn't harsh enough, but I respected
I
it.
said it should go directly in the trash if it wasn't a picture.
Wasn't harsh enough.
It's a nice poster.
I said
on
it
the
was an
wall.
offense to
I was
God.
about to say, he did
Oh,
make it
okay.
religiously
I try not to
bad.
make ontological arguments whenever
It's
I'm talking
evil.
about
That's
video
your
games.
mistake.
It's evil, and we have to
That's your
persecute
mistake.
it
I shouldn't
somehow.
have oriented the whole universe to how I
All
feel
right.
about
Well, that's
Banjo.
it. That's it for me.
So Ty, you're the last topic point before the game.
What does
The game.
so my topic is going to be a quick one because half the people at this table aren't going to have any
They're not
answer
going
No.
to it. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
no.
What
Okay.
what does a good visual novel have to do to be a fun game? I'm going to talk about
Okay.
I'm going to talk about mine
Uh-huh.
first because the visual novel that I don't like a lot of visual novels because they are just like you read text and you do nothing. But I think Snatcher is a really great example of a visual
I
novel.
was just about to ask. If
I
we were
knew
gonna
that-
count.
I
I
knew-
was just about to ask
I
if
knew-
Snatcher
yeah.
and Police Knots counts as a visual
Yes,
novel.
They both. I think they both do, but they're more interactive than your average visual novel. You do things,
absolutely.
and I think that's an important one. But some people would almost argue Disco Elysium is kind of a visual novel, but
Never
it has a
played it,
lot of
but okay.
choice in it. I lean a little bit away. Disco Elysium has you like a little guy running around and stuff.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
quite as much like a
Right.
visual novel, but it's close in the sense that like you have it's all about the choices you make, and I think that's a really important component. The closest analog in modern games would be like the Quantic Dream kind of games where they're like they are
Yeah.
mostly a movie, but you make important choices at different times, and then there are little puzzles.
Dialogue, puzzles, and reactions.
I actually think Quantic Dream takes it a little farther than it needs to. I don't really think you need reactions. I actually just think you can make decisions and
Sure.
and
But
have
one-
a lot of fun.
One could make the same argument about Snatcher and Police Knots, that the shooting sections where you have the little grid and you have to.
That
point,
is a good point.
Why even have that?
That's a good
especially,
point.
Especially because they're
Um,
not as fun without the light gun. And
Yeah, the light gun was a lot of
functionality
fun.
is really hard
I've
to.
never played either of those.
I played
Yeah.
Snatcher
You could-
on an emulator,
I was just
and
about
so
to say,
I
you
had a
could-
mouse for that,
Here's
and
my
that's-
question:
and it was quite fun.
does Pajama Sam
I don't know what that is.
count?
I don't know what that is.
Most definitely.
Yeah, Putt Putt. The
Yeah,
the
Putt Putt, Pajama Sam. What's
Freddy Fish.
Freddy Fish. That's
Yeah,
the one I
okay.
was thinking of. Freddy
Uh,
Fish.
no.
Do those count?
No, those are early childhood educational games.
You know.
Well, I don't know what you want.
Yeah. Say what Devin only plays.
What does it
those kinds
need?
of games.
What are some important things though? I think choices and some fun mini games every once in a while. And I don't count just like reactions as fun
shaking his
mini
head
games.
I'll tell you the thing is that
saying no.
A great example though would be like Tokimeki Memoria, which is actually a dating sim. But
that's
the
what
thing that struck me, I hate dating sims.
Well, and I was gonna say, what are the bounds?
But there are
here?
mini games in Tokimeki, and
Absolutely.
that's what makes the game fun. Is that you have to accomplish like the track mini game and stuff. Whereas in like modern, a lot of the modern like dating sims you see come to Steam, it is literally just like you pick a choice and watch a thing, and it's not nearly as much of a game. So where do you draw that line?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the problem is figuring out what the bounds.
And feel free to
of
talk
this.
about the games I've already talked about, because we're not talking about a specific game.
Yeah.
We're talking about your opinion on like how these games are made.
Figuring out what the bounds of visual novel are is difficult because I mean, Tokimeki Memorial, at least the first game. I don't know about any of the, I don't have any experience with the others, but that first game, when I thought of it, I think of it just, it's a dating simulator. But yes, I guess a lot of visual novels have a dating element to them.
Yeah.
A lot of, I mean, girl games in general have a sort of visual novel aspect. But then again, you go with like Snatcher, and it's got point and click qualities, I guess you could say. So it's hard. Yeah. Visual novel is a somewhat difficult genre to put together.
I would say that most dating sims are like a subgenre of visual novel.
Okay.
I think if you search visual novel on Steam, you will find them.
Well, then I'll say,
are all visual novels point and click adventures? Like,
no, because I don't think point and click is the genre. I was saying that I don't know what the lines are, because Lucasfilm point and click adventures.
No, Monkey Island is,
like Monkey
is
Island.
probably very close to a visual novel.
That was my question.
I would argue that it's not quite.
Okay.
It's not
quite.
Well,
here's what I'll say. Because Snatcher is one of my favorite games,
it's missing. I would say
Snatcher is incredible.
To follow up, I would say it's missing the novel part. It's obviously a visual journey, but it's not like a lot of text.
Most visual novels that I see on Steam are the ugliest, most
really
horribly drawn.
They're the easiest games.
They're the easiest games. But so I'd say my number one thing about what makes a visual novel good. Does it have good visuals? Do I want to look at this? Because I'm gonna. Because
brings up something
all I'm gonna do is look at this.
Have you ever heard of the game?
No.
Have you ever heard of the game? A game called Class of 07.
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I have that wish listed on Steam, but I've never.
Game. First of all, the graphics look
it's ugly.
hideous.
It's really ugly.
Hideous.
But that's a comedy
The voice
game.
acting, surprisingly good.
Yeah. I've watched.
It's all very annoying
clips.
characters, but very well voice acted. And what is it supposed to be?
It's a comedy.
There's like a in it, and then there's like
well,
your character gets
addicted
to drugs if you make certain decisions, and then they become a prostitute.
That when you said I glanced at our producer.
Yeah.
I want to apologize.
And also, we're gonna have to bleep the. We've said it several times now.
It's what
Again,
we were saying.
If you're talking about a visual novel, all I'm going to be doing in most of these visual novels is looking at it, right? So when I look at Snatcher, I love how that game looks.
Yeah.
Beautiful scenes, where they will just show horrifying graphic violence in beautiful hand-done pixel art, and it's just stunning. And the backdrops and the city are just beautiful, and the character designs are great. Love it.
I'm a fan of that kind of anime.
Could talk about it. Yeah. Could talk about that in Police Knots as far as the visuals go forever. I love how those games play. I think that they're super fun. I love the investigation going. I know a lot of people find it annoying, but I love going back to the computer database and looking up names and putting all the pieces together. Just such fun games. Clicking on everything, trying to find all the pieces to the puzzle in a crime scene. All of that is just super fun. The shooting mechanics have not. If you don't have a light gun, they're pretty clunky. If you try to play, if you try to play them console wise, they're not great. No. That's why, and a mouse doesn't do justice to a light gun, but it is better than trying to click.
Yeah, it's fun again.
So while the gameplay elements are an important part, because obviously if you're doing a visual novel, spicing it up with gameplay is important. The visuals, that's my thing. That is the line.
I was gonna say the same thing.
If it has no gameplay and it's just a text game where you just do choices, if it looks absolutely beautiful and has a unique style, I'll probably enjoy a short visual novel.
I have a different take on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick clarifying question. Does it like negate it if it's all voice acted and you don't have to read text?
No, that I don't think so. I think the idea of a visual novel is that, like, what is the main gameplay component, right? In something like Monkey Island, the main gameplay component is kind of clicking around and searching your environment. Where in a visual novel, the main gameplay component is either talking to people or is the story being like told to you, right? And so.
Strange?
You saying Life is Strange? I've never played it, but I think it's probably close to
like
a
the
visual
Telltale
novel.
games.
Yeah,
Those are visual.
Telltale games are visual novels.
I don't know.
Sam and
Again,
Max
this is
is a
we're
visual novel?
I've never played,
We're running into the same problem that I was saying at
Sam
first.
Max is closer to like a Monkey Island.
when we're
you're exploring and
when we are
Strong Bad's
defining
cool game for attractive people.
when we're
Another Monkey
defining
Island.
these lines of what is a visual novel, I think we are getting very liberal with
blur-
our
it's
with
very
our
blurry.
definitions.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very blurry,
Which I think
Well,
is
it
the,
sounds like Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide when
If-
it's dark outside,
actually,
is a
yes.
visual novel.
And that's
It
why I
is.
say if we expand these it would be hypocritical to say otherwise, because if we expand these to Stalker and Police Knots, where there's all these gameplay elements and you're doing all this detective work and you can move around the world freely, and we call that a visual novel, we've expanded it already. And then if we say Life is Strange and we say the point and click Lucasfilm games, and we put all these things, we
And
just keep
Pajama Sam.
Life is Strange.
Pajama Sam.
I haven't
keep
played
expanding
Life is
dark
Strange, but it
outside.
sounds like you're making the argument that that's like a little outside of what
I'm saying that we are getting further all the time.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think the Telltale games,
actually have to
because they're
read.
almost all
Yeah.
story.
Here's what I would say.
It's
it's
difficult.
It's
It's
tricky. They're
difficult.
definitely
It's tricky
they're
for me
definitely
to
more
give
on
a
rails story than something like Life is Strange.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Ethan, bring us home
Bring us home.
to the more
Please
or less
let me
game.
bring us
Yeah.
home.
Bring us home.
So my favorite visual novel is Hotel Dusk, because that game is phenomenal,
Yeah.
and also a visual novel,
It is
and
a really
it has
good game.
no mini games. It just has puzzles. And
Yeah.
so the thing I
Sure.
think that brings it back to what you guys are saying is that
Puzzle
like,
is kind of the
it
mini
needs a-
game.
a puzzle, right? What it needs is to be a video game in some degree.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be everything from a video game, but it has to utilize the medium somehow.
Yeah.
So if you are telling me that like it's a visual novel, it should look good. Great. Exactly. Video games should. Your game should be good to look at because that's what you do with them.
Right.
The story should be good. If it has voice acting, the voice acting should be good. But it also needs some kind of mechanic in it that couldn't be done better in a book. If everything is just words and pictures, it's a comic book.
Yeah.
If everything is just words, it's a book, right? If everything is just
is nothing,
gameplay, it has to be a
it's
video
nothing.
game.
Right, but if
But
it's
to be a visual novel, it
Okay.
needs some kind of reason that I am playing this in this format.
Yeah.
And so like Snatcher,
You need fun interactive segments, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
okay.
So I wanted to expand. I want to take what you guys said and just expand it, where you were like, it needs like good mini games. Yeah, if you expand the idea of mini game into also like puzzles, like the way
I should have
Dusk was.
phrased it as interactive segments, because a mini game implies a certain level of gamification.
Yes.
Right.
And so instead of thinking of like mini game the way an RPG has mini game, but take the words literally, a mini game. Yeah, exactly. Hotel Dusk has these interesting parts where you're looking at like a keyhole and you're like, oh, what can I do with this that would be interesting? One of them that was great is like you're looking at a book and the trick is you have to close the DS and open
Yeah,
it
that's
again.
like the best.
Genius.
It's a lot of
Genius.
really creative stuff in Hotel
Really,
Dusk.
Yeah.
really creative
Really
stuff.
love that game.
You have
play
to
it
like.
again.
There's a box at one point where you have to
It's a really
turn the thing and like.
Why
yeah,
have they
like
not
shake
made a
it out.
sequel to that on Switch? Why are we getting the Famicom Detective Club games and not that?
You know, we can't.
Not
get
that I
into
dislike
we
Famicom
can't get into
Detective
this
Club
subject
games.
now.
But what I was going to say is that like, give me a good reason that it's in this format.
Sure.
And then I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like if the problem I have with some of them is that like
They should just be a book because there's.
they
no
could honestly just be a
visuals and-
browser game at some point.
Yeah.
Like it could just be a visual novel that I just like click through the images of in like a folder full of JPEGs, right? Why does it need to be a video game? Why does this need to launch from Steam? What is the point of making this in an engine? Once you fill those criterias, you make make it something that adds to it.
Yeah,
in Hotel
that
Dusk
couldn't just be a PDF file that like
the
you
reason
read.
Hotel Dusk is the way that it is because if you're just watching it, you don't feel like a detective. But then as you slowly start to piece things together socially in the story, you start to feel like a detective. But one of the most important things for a detective is especially in the noir style they're making it in, is to feel lonely.
Right.
Feel like you're the only one who understands the world and everybody else is an idiot. And so in Hotel Dusk, there's a point where you start to have to solve all these like question marks by yourself.
Yeah.
That's critical. And to do that, you have to feel clever. And so to make you feel clever, they throw a puzzle at you that you have to solve. And then when you go back to talk to the other characters, you kind of resent them a little bit because they're not bad people, but you're like, I'm so much smarter than you guys. Why haven't you figured this out? And of course, it's it's a film noir detective, so you get your comeuppance eventually about how you're not as smart as you thought you were. That's what that element adds to the story. It makes the novel parts better.
Yeah.
If the gameplay element you're throwing in there is like, we haven't had you click on the screen a bunch yet.
Yeah.
Here, play Pac-Man for a while and you'll get Pac points to be a better detective. I'm like, okay, you're trying to hold my attention. You're not trying to enhance your story. So that's where I would define it as a good visual novel. The gameplay elements, the mini game parts, they add to the story. A bad visual novel just either doesn't have them and it could be a different format, or it has them, but they're just there to keep you from clicking off. They're just there to keep you from closing up, to keep you interested.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, I think, gentlemen, it's time.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna play more or less Nintendo Switch. All right,
And-
just for
Who won
for
last
a
time?
reminder.
Didn't you win?
Ethan won last time,
Yeah,
unless you
I was gonna
count
say, I think you
me
won.
because Ty said
I
that
don't.
16 points for your Capcom question.
yes.
So I'm noticing a theme with our games here.
I know. So here's the deal. As a refresher, this is more or less. So one player gets asked a question that basically, please don't clack them together. I am the sound engineer for this podcast.
Sorry.
The one player gets asked a question.
Yeah.
And then he will give, the answer is going to be a number amount. Then the other two players on the count of 3 will say whether they think the number is actually more or it's less. Or they can also say that they think he's spot on, right?
In which case, what? We don't raise any.
If the you raise both if you think it's spot on.
Okay.
You raise neither if you think the question does not merit an answer.
Okay, so he doesn't. You raise neither, you get no points.
So less and more?
Yeah, so more is a Nintendo Switch game, less is the PS2 game. In this case, it's Spider-Man Edition because that's all we had.
So we have no, we got some themes here. Early Switch release titles.
Yep, early
and
Switch release.
Spider-Man
And Spider-Man
games.
movie time games.
Are these all PlayStation games?
PlayStation 2?
PlayStation 2 games.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, after it came out.
Totally fair.
Okay, so are you guys ready?
Ready.
This is Nintendo Switch Edition. All these questions will relate in some way to the Nintendo Switch, and I definitely didn't stretch the margins here at all. I don't think I did. I think I did okay. I'm going to pull up. I'm going to get this here.
I'd just like to remind everyone that the last time we did this, Devin had time to prepare, and all of his questions were in the hundreds and thousands. And I pulled a question completely out of thin air, and I gave the question a format of somewhere between 1 to 10.
Okay.
And the winnability ratings.
I'm gonna. How do I get this pin to work? Oh, it's a
He
cap.
hasn't even figured out the pen.
He doesn't know-
That's
this
how
guy doesn't know how to-
unprepared he is.
He doesn't know
I'm
how
very
to.
prepared.
He doesn't understand. Let me just tell you, this guy doesn't understand pins. He doesn't understand life. He doesn't understand video games. He doesn't even know
All right,
Banjo-Kazooie.
All right,
nuts and
smart
bolts.
Alec. We're
All right.
starting with Quentin.
All right, let's go.
You don't have to hold your games over here. You can hold them near you. It's okay. All right, Quentin. On the Nintendo, you're getting asked the question, so you're not going to hold up anything.
He
I'm just
likes to
holding
assume
him.
the position.
On the Nintendo Switch, a very popular series has been a battle royale-esque series that has the moniker of 99.
All right.
The first one was Tetris 99.
Yeah, all right. I remember that.
How many 99 games have been made?
99 in this series, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
How many games with that moniker and that style have been made? Oh, you have, just as a quick explanation of the rules, when you get asked a question, you have 11 seconds to answer.
All right,
not
so
10.
you, okay.
11 seconds to answer. And if you split the group, meaning that he says more, he says less, or vice versa, you automatically get a point.
Okay.
So even if, go ahead.
I counted towards your 11 seconds, and your time is up.
Sorry,
and you
there's 3.
forfeited.
Yeah, there's 3.
There's 3.
All right. When I say, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1.
Hands on your paddles,
3,
sir.
2, 1, boom. When you hear boom, hold up whether you think it's more or less. Ready? 3, 2, 1, boom. Ty thinks that he's spot on. Ethan thinks that there's more.
So we've split.
Ethan, give us a quick. What's your logic here?
No, give me my point.
So,
Quentin split the group, so he gets a point.
I got a point. There we go.
I'm fairly certain there's a 4th one.
Okay.
Because I can think of 3.
Mario 35 does not count because it was only a 35.
Ty thinks Mario 35 doesn't count.
I'm correct. It's not a 99
Ethan,
game.
I think that it does. And it might be the one I was thinking of.
Okay,
but
so the
I
correct
get this
answer.
point if it's 4 and Mario 35.
How
one
many
you counted.
99 games, the games with a 99 marker, are there? Correct answer was 3.
Woo! I got it spot
Wait, do I get an extra
on.
point for
No.
getting it right?
No, but Ty does get a point because he got it right.
I don't get 2 because I was spot on. and
No,
I got
Quentin
it.
was
Say
spot
no.
on. He
I
doesn't
was
get
on
right.
point.
You're right.
Mario 35 would have made it 4, but currently there's Tetris 99, the now
F-Zero.
defunct Pac-Man 99,
And then
and
F-Zero?
F-Zero
99? Yeah,
Those are
so
the 3.
3.
Good job,
Those are the only
Quentin.
3.
Good job.
I'm amazed that I actually knew.
You did.
That was
You
good.
nailed
I
it.
actually
You
remember
nailed
that
it.
there were 3 of
You
them.
nailed it.
Really good.
All right,
Okay.
Ethan.
Hola.
In Super Mario Odyssey,
Oh, dear.
which is one of your games that you're holding up. I did not plan
exactly
that.
once.
Yeah.
Mm.
In Super Mario Odyssey, the main gimmick of the game is that Mario uses Cappy to capture different enemies, objects, and other things. How many things can Mario capture in Mario
Remember what
Odyssey?
I just said about giving us hundreds and thousands?
How many games? How many things can
I
you
actually
capture?
used to know this.
Yeah.
I think it's like 47
Is that your final
different
answer?
things he can capture.
You're on a timer here.
I'm going to say
47.
47.
47. All right. Quentin and Ty, are you ready?
I'm
on
ready.
the count, when you hear boom.
Mhm.
3, 2, 1, boom.
I
They
absolutely
both,
knew they both were
said
the same thing.
more.
Yes, I
Yeah.
knew.
Quentin, give us a little glimpse into your logic here.
So you said 40 something?
47.
47. yeah.
47. I'm going to say that Nintendo would never have the restraint to do just 47 enemies. I'm going to say, because I remember playing that game, and that game is just chock full of
It's
stuff.
not just enemies either.
It's not
You
just
can capture,
enemies.
like electrical bolts.
Right.
I said enemies and objects. Yeah.
Yeah,
Enemies
no, that's what
and
I mean.
objects.
Is that, like,
But
if
that's
you
the thing.
include
If you
all
include
the objects,
every
and stuff,
object in the game, every enemy in the game, there's no way that's 40. In every world?
Just throw out what number do you think it is?
Gosh,
This doesn't
I'm
have anything to do
going to
with
say at
points.
least double that.
Double that.
I'm going to say at least double. I'm going to say that it is probably approaching 80.
Right, approaching.
I think
80,
it's
yeah.
I think it's like in the 60s, low 70s.
The correct answer is, for how many Mario transformations are in Mario Odyssey? 52.
Oh, not that much more.
Hey, I was pretty close.
You were actually
You were
quite
pretty
close.
But it was
Wow.
more, so Ty and Quentin get the point.
You get here. I just wanted to say something. The correct answer for the last one was 3. The
I
correct
started
answer
off
mine
simple, yeah.
was
I started off
52
simple.
out of infinity.
It's just gonna get worse.
I could have picked any
It's just gonna
number.
get worse. I gotta mix it up. I
Quentin
I
could have
could've
picked
I don't want you
52.
knowing
I could've-
which
You
where
know
I'm
what,
coming
buddy?
from.
If I had picked 4,
where I'm coming
it
from.
would have been just as bad for me.
Well, no. Here's the
Yeah.
thing: the options
Okay.
you could have picked are limited.
The
The options
range
I could
was
have picked is
definitely-
1,
Yeah,
No,
that's true.
and the
to be
highest
fair,
number is a theoretical
what I
number
will
that would
say,
collapse
it's
the
not
universe.
about because you don't have to get the number right. You just have to get them to make it
disagree.
wrong.
and then say the
Yeah.
You
wrong.
just have
Yeah.
to split us.
You just have
I
to split.
nearly
You could've
got
been
it
way
right, and they
off.
both guessed
Listen,
more
that
because
kinda-
they
that's
both
true.
thought it was
Yeah.
in the hundreds.
No,
I
here's
mean,
what I'll say. If you get it
I
right,
didn't think it was in the 100. I said 60.
If I
Listen,
had guessed
which is close.
80,
I also didn't say
80.
hundreds.
Yeah.
Quinn would have
I
gone
said 80.
89.
I said 80, which is not hundreds. Here's the thing. You
Yeah.
know, honey, his system worked pretty well for you last time.
yeah.
I don't know if you
It
want
did.
him to change it.
No,
That's the,
The
reason
reason
why.
the-
If I win,
yeah,
there's a problem.
the
in
reason
system.
the game is not
Okay.
necessarily
Same.
spot on is that if you get it spot on, but that you don't split the group and they say that you got it spot on, you don't get a point. They get a point. Your goal is to get them to mess up.
I
Right.
see.
Is
Right.
not to get it spot on.
All right.
All right.
Mission impossible.
Yeah.
So Ty, it's
All right,
your
Ty.
question.
The Nintendo Switch Online service
Yeah.
with the expansion pack allows you to play NES, Super NES, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy plus Game Boy Color, and Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, depending on which region you're in. Whew. How many games
I have both thanks to
total?
my Japanese account.
How many games total come with the NSO and the expansion pack and all those?
Are we
In
including?
all
Are we
regions?
including the Japanese?
Yeah, in
In-
all
in-
regions.
Because I
North
happen
America.
to know those
Okay, no,
numbers.
North
in
America.
North America.
All right.
Okay.
You have
All right.
10 seconds.
210.
210. Ethan and Quentin, are you ready? The answer was 210. When you hear boom, 3, 2, 1, boom. You split the group. Good job, Ty. Ethan, give us a brief reason why you think it's more than 210.
Because last time I checked, they really like overloaded the NES section. There's so many in the NES.
When you go on there, it's just scrolling.
Yeah,
and scrolling
and
scrolling.
so last time I checked that, it was gigantic.
Yeah.
And some of them are the SP versions, which probably don't count.
Which don't count.
But when it, yeah,
Ty's
and the rest are
panicking.
pretty
Mhm.
thick too. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
it's more than that.
Quentin, give us a little brief. Why
So,
is it less?
My primary logic is that I think that Ty's number was actually incredibly close, and he's trying to split the group. Right?
Which he did.
Which
he
he
succeeded.
did. He split the group. I thought Ethan would probably get the same idea that Ty was actually saying a number which is almost completely correct, but just maybe a few points higher. Right?
You think he's a little high?
I think that he purposefully went maybe a few points
He's trying
high.
to gank
I was
the
thinking
game.
the same
try-
thing, but a few points low.
Okay,
Okay.
we just
Yeah.
we just
You
didn't
guys-
line
I
up.
do, and my logic was I'm almost certain that I've seen an advertisement for a Nintendo Switch online that was like, now with over 200 classic titles. And I was like, over 200?
Over
210.
200. 210.
Okay,
All
all
right. The correct answer is 273.
Oh, that's a lot.
Ethan, you got your
Ethan's-
point.
Yeah, Ethan's strategy
He's
worked
catching,
out.
He's catching up.
He's catching up.
He's catching up.
He's catching up.
270.
All right, at the end of round one, we have a nice little balance. In last is Ethan with 1. Then in second
belong.
is Quentin with 2. And in
Where I
first is
belong.
Ty with 3. All right.
Where
we're
none of us
going-
belong.
Going into round 2.
All right. It's
I
me
don't
again.
like how pleased you
It's
seem with
me
yourself.
again.
No, so we're not just gonna make it. You always go first.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna in the beginning of the round. We're gonna spin this around.
Okay.
Ethan,
Okay.
you ready for this?
All right.
Almost certainly not.
As of September, what is today? September 11th. Nope.
It is not. You can do this.
Wait, I have a phone in my hand. Why am I asking?
I don't know
you?
why you're asking him.
As of September 24th, 2024, what is the total number of games on Nintendo eShop for the Nintendo Switch?
Or for the Switch,
Yep.
Oh God, this is the most astronomical number. Okay,
Because he was talking.
shovelware.
He was talking.
You should
Cool
you
play.
should have kept a lip on it.
let me see if I can figure out that number that folds space time in
Yeah,
on itself.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say actually, I think that they just reached. I think they just reached 8,000 a while back,
8,000.
but I think it's so. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say 8,000 and probably 100.
8,000. So
yeah.
8,100. Do you want to
8,100,
go
yeah.
with the numbers in between to see if you can get close, or do you just want to?
And we're including, and this is a North American region or all regions.
This is the North American eShop.
Yes, I'm gonna say that it just recently hit 8,000. So
8,000.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll say a little more than 8,000.
A little more than 8,000. Okay, yeah. And I will say I'll round it like so that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Quentin, Ty, you
'Cause
ready?
It's literally impossible because right now they've released several as I've been speaking.
Probably, yeah. So just as of the recording. All right, on boom. 3, 2, 1, boom. They both said more. You didn't split the
I
group.
think it's like 15,000.
Yeah, I was just
bro.
about to say maybe
15,000?
12,000.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
if
There's
we
so
and,
many
and
like
you know what? If we took the games off, it'd be
Yeah.
only 5.
If,
but
yes,
Right.
it'd be
but
less than
with
Great,
with
another
all
bleep.
with all the perverted shovelware that's
they're
on
both
there.
wrong, do I get a point?
That
If they're both wrong, that's how you get a point. Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah. That's
All
really
right,
the
so-
traditional way.
so
yeah.
is it
Splitting
more
the group
than is it
when
more
they
than
get it wrong.
8,100?
So here's the big
If
question.
the answer's closer to mine, since they both said 12, can I
I didn't know that doesn't
no,
count.
no.
as
Yeah,
much
I don't know
money.
all these
All right,
rules.
So, as of September 24th, 2024, the total number of eShop games on the Nintendo Switch is 18,726.
That's absurd.
I must have heard
It's
it had passed
absurd.
18.
No,
You
yeah.
might, yeah,
No,
and
yeah.
thought
it was 8.
Yeah,
I was like, there's no way they have
How are
18,000
there that
given
many
me.
Hey, we
games?
were
and
pretty
I was
close.
gonna give them if they had said spot
That's no
on, but
shock.
then it was
no,
81 and 2. I would have given it.
No,
to you.
that's
I would have
not.
rounded.
That's not a shock to me at
18,000
at all.
That's
at
insane.
all. No,
That's
Nintendo having a billion shovelware games on their console
Not
is
surprised.
a
Especially
Nintendo
when
I
they're
do think
successful.
I will say one thing.
Oh, you
They've
gotta
done a
make a
much
point.
better job here than on the Wii of making it to where you don't see those games when you log. When I log in, like
Yeah.
it shows me.
Oh, yeah.
I can find what game I'm looking for very fast. Whereas on the Wii, like the shovelware was almost just like alphabetical listing. I know it wasn't, but it was just like every new title was coming up first, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
the shovelware was front and center. I never see the shovelware because it's
Because
so far
it's
down.
featured
Yeah.
and
The problem was in all of my calculations, I forgot that the human butt exists, and then I should have calculated that.
Yeah,
in.
you should have been like,
That should have been in your equation.
The ones
Right
in
in
the
there.
10,000s
Yeah.
column. I was like,
In
oh
the-
yes, women
Yeah.
exist and butts exist, and they can both be in video games.
Yeah.
That's the 10,000.
10,000. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
That's the
right.
10,000 I'm missing.
All right,
All right.
Quentin, you're in the middle now.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
How many games that originally appeared on GameCube
Mhm.
have been ported to the Nintendo Switch? They could have come to other things in between, obviously, and they could have multi-launched.
Yeah. Right.
But
okay.
they originally appeared on GameCube, and now they're
I'm
on
tempted
Nintendo
to
Switch.
say 0.
You have 7 seconds left. 4.
There's 11.
There's 11.
11. You say there's 11.
All right, Ty and Ethan. His answer was 11.
11.
Yep. Are you ready on your buzzers for boom? 3, 2, 1, boom. You split the group. Good job. You split the group.
All right.
Ty, give us a little reason why you think it's more.
I can think of like 8, and I was
8.
like, it's got to be higher than that.
Well, he said 11.
That's what I mean.
You can think of 8, but there's more.
Yeah.
11 is more.
He's saying that
There's
he
got to be
can-
some that I
Yeah,
am
he's-
thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ethan, why do you think it's? Did you say less?
He said less.
Less,
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think it's less?
Because there are times when I'm actually struggling to think of any. I'm like, there's Zelda and there's Metroid, and then I'm like, maybe Pikmin.
Pikmin, originally debuted. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
you said the question specifically was Wii U games ported to Switch, or was it
GameCube.
He said GameCube
GameCube games, right? GameCube
Yeah.
games ported to Switch.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think it's as many as
Okay, so Quentin's answer was 11. Ty said it's more. Ethan said that it's less. The correct answer is 24. Hey,
Oh,
Okay.
pretty good. Pretty good. So,
All right.
I knew it was more.
point for Ty.
All right.
Good job. Good job. All right. Ty, you're closing off round 2.
All right, here we go.
You ready for this?
No.
What is the total number of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks, including the DLC?
80.
80. Okay.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
What's the total number of tracks, like racing tracks,
Racing tracks.
in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, including the DLC? The booster
I
course?
thought you were talking about musical tracks, and I was like,
No,
oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
Yeah.
Racing track. How many are
You
in
understood the question?
8 and
I
8 Deluxe?
Yes, I think so.
Racing tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
including the DLC. You didn't add
Yes.
anything to the battle or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Okay.
I actually kind of did
And how
think
much
it
did
was
you say?
music tracks. I said 80. Can I revise mine down to 60 because I did think it was the musical tracks?
Yeah, because
Oh,
if
yeah.
it was music tracks, I was like, well, yeah, 80.
Okay,
sounds
so you
right.
want
Yeah.
to
60. I want to go 60. now.
60. Okay. Ethan, Quentin, you ready on your buzzers? Ty said there's 60 total, including the booster course.
Yeah.
You ready? On boom. 3, 2, 1, boom. They both said less. You did not split the group, Ty. You did not split the group. Ethan, give us a little
Fine, I'm gonna get a
preamble
point
as to
when they're
why it's
wrong.
less.
Yep.
so
Yeah.
there are I think 12 courses with the booster packs, and each course has 4 maps on it.
Yep.
So that would be less than 60.
Okay.
That would be 56.
Yep. Got
So
you.
I'm fairly certain that it's less, but
Well,
I could be
okay.
wrong.
Got you. All right. So you both said less. Ty, the only way you're going to point here is if they're wrong. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the Booster Course Pass has 96 tracks.
Holy crap. My
too
first
many.
guess.
96.
How does that
tracks.
96
That's too many.
of it? How many
It's had
courses
two
does it
seasons,
have?
right?
Yeah, so it has over 40 tracks in the original game, and then the roster, the booster course just doubled the amount of tracks that were in it. So
Okay. Wow.
all right, so there's a point for Ty. Good job. All
I
right.
can't believe my first guess would have been.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going into round 3 here. Ethan's got a
There
respectable
is
one. in
literally.
last. Quentin has 4. Ty has 6. The
There's
margins can
quite
clean up
literally
fast.
no way that Ty cannot lose.
There is.
Ty, what?
If I get no more points and you get.
I guess
point,
if I got every
Yeah.
point, I guess there's no way Ethan can win.
Here's the thing. This is
How
Nintendo
is-
Switch themed, which means
This is-
Nintendo. We're going into round 3, double points.
Oh,
so nothing mattered up
nothing
till now.
up till now. Nothing mattered.
And
All
for
right,
the,
last
for the
round.
person who's in last, they get an extra bonus point question that if they get it, they catch up.
This game was
He
rigged.
likes bonus
This game was
stars.
rigged
This
from the
is
start.
rubber banding.
This game was
at
rigged
its
from the
best.
start.
All right.
All right.
So we started
Okay.
with Quentin, Ethan. Now we're starting with Ty.
Starting with Ty. Okay.
Ooh.
Let's
Starting
hear
with
it,
Ty.
honey.
How many grains of sand?
How many
are there?
grains of
In this
sand?
jar.
No,
I get
Is
it
it-
exactly
Oh,
correct.
my
No.
God.
Size
All
of the beach.
Ty might get this exactly correct. On the Nintendo Switch family of systems, you can play every mainline Metroid game, including the remake of the original Zero Mission. If you were to 100% complete all 6 of those games, how many energy tanks would you have collected?
Well, you cannot play every mainline Metroid game because Metroid Samus Returns is not available on the system. But
I said including
it's okay.
the remake of the original.
It's okay to be dumb sometimes.
Wait.
Can
Can you play the original
Yes.
Metroid 2?
doesn't count.
All
I
The
think
6
sequel is
games.
its own game. It's so different.
It's
All
a-
6
it's a-
mainline games and only 1 remake. 6 games. How
Two
many?
games.
How many would you have collected if you 100% at all 6
If I
games?
100%ed,
How many energy tanks would you have collected?
let's see, 20.
You have 4 seconds left.
I'm gonna say
3.
210.
210. Ethan, Quentin, are you
Mhm.
ready on your buzzers?
Ready on the buzzers.
When you hear boom, 3, 2, 1, boom! You split the group.
did
You
it.
madman.
I get
Ethan-
2 points for that. Thank you.
No, just 1.
What? Doesn't count.
Well, no, because someone when you split the group, someone's right. So instead of you just not getting the point because someone was right, you split them so you get a point. Ethan, tell us why you think it's more.
It's
I
made
said it's
up.
210, and I'm pretty sure that there are that if you calculate them all together, the amount of energy tanks you
Yeah.
get well over 200.
For the record, I think he is probably
well
right.
over
Okay.
200.
Now,
So
I
think you
wanna-
get
I wanna
around
say-
20 a game, and in the first 6 you would already get to.
I knew the 2 of you were like really knowledgeable, so I want to say that this is of all the questions I looked up, this one I fact checked the most. I
Okay.
clarified it on everything I possibly
Zero
could.
Mission does not count
Just
for this
explain
one, since you
how
said the original 6.
I said the first. I said
Just
those
explain
6
how
games.
Quentin got the point, please.
No,
Quentin,
I
you
would
said
just
less.
I said less. Literally the same logic as earlier. I figured Ty knew very well how many energy tanks there were, and
I
he
was
said
so
something
far off.
slightly
I know.
higher. Yeah, but this you know about. This is Metroid, so I thought.
Well,
I think
also,
it's-
like,
think it's gonna be right this time.
I researched this question, but I also worded it super carefully because I said all 5 mainline Metroid games, including the remake of the original. So I said if you were going to
Okay.
100% all 6 of those games, the 5 games and the remake,
Say the number, honey.
the total energy tanks is
300.
84. That's it.
What?
84.
That's insane to me.
Even I didn't expect it to be that low.
I
but-
had written down the number of energy tanks you get in each game, but I forgot to save it.
well,
so.
I got it by
84.
accident.
That's insane.
Good job, Quentin.
All right.
You got
well,
your 5th
that's
point.
something.
Oh wait,
No, I get
you,
2.
You do get 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
wasn't
it was
arguing
double
that
points.
I deserved more points for anything.
No. Yeah, double points. You're correct. All right. So who was stuck in the middle last time? Quentin was in the middle, which means you're in the middle now, Mr. Middle Child. Poor you.
Give me your insane. Give me your uncooked meth question.
Tell me
here.
how many stars are in the
Right.
heavens and how many hairs
Yeah.
are upon my head, diviner.
Oh,
How
I
many,
guess
what do you want me to divine for you? Yeah, how many
How many?
angels
Wait,
dance
who-
on the head of a pen?
you ended it out in round 2.
Don't ask me questions.
Just go for it. Just go for
Just
it.
get
There's
it
no
going.
saving
Come
me from this
on.
fate.
Let's go.
In Super Mario Odyssey,
Absolutely.
Why
not.
We're
back to an
Why are we-
Odyssey.
Why are you
Please
asking about
begin.
this?
in Super Mario Odyssey, there are 880 moon-related
I'll
quests.
take your word for it,
Yeah.
number boy.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
there
know.
there are.
Yeah, okay.
And then each shop in each world sells a moon. Only one of those moons counts as a moon mission. Buy a moon from the shop is only one. However, the game continues to track the moons that you buy from that shop in each individual world.
I am so lost.
Let me just
What-
tell you, every
what
time
are you
that he
talking
asks
about?
Ethan a question, it's like a James Joyce
know.
poem. It's written in a language that he made up. There's no punctuation.
Was this question found on a Sumerian
bull.
tablet in
Yes.
Assyria?
Yes.
Like-
No, so I'll break
All
it
right.
down a little more simply. The Odyssey ship itself only counts up to 999 moons. That's where it'll stop, right? 880 are from the missions you do, but you can just keep buying ones from the shop until it stops at 999. Internally, the game keeps counting. Each shop counts 99 moons. So each shop gets hundreds of moons.
Yo, Gary, the one.
So
Account for gravity.
Ethan's also off of his ADHD meds today.
Ethan,
when you roll around to this
I'm
question,
sorry.
I was like,
Devin,
he's-
can you just
he's
stop
not
I
talking?
gonna
tried to
make
give it to
Joe,
Quentin.
listen,
He's not
can,
gonna make it.
I want you to just stop talking.
Should I give this to Quentin?
Yeah,
No,
stop.
keep
Should I give it to
going.
Quentin?
Keep going.
No, stop talking. Ethan, say a number. In this quickly.
No.
Say a number.
How many moons does the game track internally? Above 999.
There was an easy way to ask this question.
And I'll let you round it. Sorry. Dig deep, Ethan. All you have to do is beat these two
Say
yahoos.
a number.
It's not going to matter because I'm going to pick a number.
Please
It's going to
say
be
a
so
number.
far off that they're both going to guess the opposite direction. I'm not going to split them. It's got to be, if each world's counting essentially 10,000, right? Like, or 1,000. Everyone's counting 1,000.
No,
right?
100. 99
I think you said 999 is how many the
is what
internal
the
count is.
Odyssey says on it. Each shop
Can I rephrase,
Counts
can,
up
to
can I
99.
rephrase
Yeah.
this
Okay.
question in
Yeah.
a way that will actually...
100. That it's counting to 100. It's probably something like 2,200 then.
So
There
2,200.
was
Yeah.
such an easy
Okay.
way to phrase this
200.
question.
Okay, and I did not
You're
phrase it very
insane.
well.
You're
Why
listen.
did you ask it?
You're trying to drop a drop of water down onto the mouth of somebody burning in the pits of hell, my
Oh
friend.
my
It won't
God.
help.
When I saw that Ethan got this question too,
22.
I was like,
Well, you know, it wouldn't...
all right, guys,
Okay,
are you ready? His answer was 2,200. When you hear boom,
I'm gonna put this question up on the hallway at Harvard. The person who solves it, they're gonna make a movie about.
3, 2, 1, boom. Ethan, you split the group.
Wow.
You get 2 points. All right, Ty, tell us why you think that it's more.
So it goes up to 999 on the
Right.
Odyssey, and every store can have 99. So if there are more than 10 stores, which I think there are, you get over 2,200.
Why do you think it's less?
Bro, I don't think it's less. I don't think it's anything at all. All right? You asked me to, like, recite the Declaration of Independence from
Yeah, I
memory
did, yeah.
in that question, and then you expected me to give an answer. I lifted the first paddle that I looked at when I looked down at my
All right,
microphone.
are you ready? Ethan's answer was 2,200. Quentin said it was less.
God.
Ty said that it was more. The correct answer. Ethan, I'm so proud of you. 2,154.
Oh my
Hey.
gosh.
That was really good. Good job,
Ooh.
Quentin and Ethan.
I'm
mean,
so
I'm
glad
gonna
you.
take the point
I'm
away
so
from you.
glad you accounted for gravity when you were trying to land this rocket, buddy. Those calculations were
I mean,
impressive.
that was
That's surprising.
horrifying.
No, you did a good job.
That was very, very
After my
close.
botching of the
If, he had,
wording,
if,
I
if
was
I had
not,
said he was
you did
spot
not have
on,
a
would you have
timer.
given it to me?
If he was spot on,
All right.
he won the game.
No, if
You
I
gave
had
them 2
said
points,
spot
right?
on and he was that close, would you just give
No,
it to me?
no, because
Give it to me.
he wasn't
God.
spot on.
He was so close.
He wasn't,
so
but he
close.
wasn't.
He was less
but-
than 100
You-
away.
he split the
Next
group.
question.
All right, closing it out for Quentin.
All right,
All right.
let's hear it.
How many rings are on those little baby toys they
You're
put
gonna,
down?
you're gonna say,
Really-
how many fingers do I have on my hand?
How many polygon? No.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so the focal point of the Nintendo Switch since it came out was the eye-catching Joy-Con colors.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Since then, Nintendo has released many other official Joy-Con colors.
They have.
Now, if you count each of them individually, meaning that, like, for example, the Legend of Zelda Joy-Cons are 2 different colors because they have different designs.
Okay.
How many official Nintendo Joy-Con colors are there?
19.
19. All right, Ethan and Ty, are you ready on your buzzers?
Yes.
Quentin's answer was 19. When you hear boom, 3, 2, 1, boom. More. You didn't split the group. You get nothing. Ty, tell me, why do you think it's more?
With being almost every custom pack that's come out, other than the original, has different colors on each side of the Joy-Con.
That's the theme of Joy-Cons.
And
usually,
there have been so many. There's one sitting right there.
Yeah.
There are the Zelda theme ones, which there are 2 of, by the way.
Yep.
Maybe 3. Did Skyward Sword get a custom Switch?
Well, yes, but it got the blue and purple, and now Tears of the Kingdom has gold.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there've been so many.
There've
been so many.
I can't keep up with any of them. That's why I'm like,
okay.
I would just like to point out, you said, like, each one and each side is
maybe
counted as a
is
different color,
if you're just
right?
counting on the bundles.
Right.
Gentlemen, you said this, and I thought, oh man, I'm going to say something a little wacky to try and make this a little hairier, and then they agreed. So I said 19 because 19 does not divide evenly. So if every Joy-Con is a different is counted as a different color, right? You can't.
But
have
the first ones were the right color, so 19.
Wait.
Actually does work.
Yes, 19 works.
But also the Zelda ones are both gold. So
but they have a
would
different
still
pattern.
be one.
No, but he specified
Zelda. They would be separate, but like
if they have a
pink
different
is just a color by itself. It's not like pink
The
and green.
originals were gray.
Yeah.
And they weren't the same.
Yeah. Anyways,
wait.
Here we go.
They have. Oh, I thought you said.
You see what
I thought you said each Joy-Con counted separately.
If it's a different color or design.
Okay. So we still can't do a 0.5, I guess. Still.
No. This game will never have 0.5.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still.
Quentin said 19. You guys think that it's more the correct answer? Shockingly, 34.
Ooh, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a
lot more.
Good job. All right. So we end round 3. Quentin is at 8 points. Ty is at 10 points. Ethan is at 5 points. All right. So the winner is Ty, unless Ethan can get this bonus question,
which is worth 7 points.
How many polygons are made up of every single character in Smash Bros? But don't count any of the DLC characters who have a bowl cut or whose costumes are too revealing.
The question, what do I have in my pocket?
Right, yes, that's it.
Yes, buddy.
Hang on, I'm gonna double check.
Fingers.
He's having to make up the question.
Right, Ethan. Rounded to the nearest million.
Good God.
How many units has the Nintendo Switch family of systems sold? You could do this, Ethan.
I think it's less than 100 or 120 million. Because that's
as of September 24th, 2024.
I'm gonna say it's like 90 million.
90 mil?
Yeah.
Quentin and Ty.
I'm sorry. We're doing this still. We're doing this crap.
No, wait a second.
Okay. Sorry. The question was how many did the Switch units have sold?
How many?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 110 because I know it's got
110 million units.
110 million. You ready?
Yep.
Ty and Quentin, when you hear boom,
they know way more about this than me.
1, 2, 3, boom. You split the group.
Yay!
You just gave him his 5 points. But here's the big question. Here's the decider on the winner.
Right?
Which of you was right?
Quentin, they just crossed 150 million. So
Quentin, why do you think that it's more or less?
So I was under the impression that the bonus question did not matter about whether we got points, and if we split the group, then Ethan would win.
No. Oh, okay.
So I was incorrect.
So Ty was going to win either
assessment.
way because you were either going to vote with him and you both get the points, or
no.
You think it was more?
No, I'm saying that if I split the group, then you would win.
Yes.
In my conception.
But it wouldn't have mattered.
And then you
So,
would win
by
both
splitting
times
the
of
group-
this game that has been rigged
By splitting
against
the
you.
group, maybe Ethan would have won, but now you definitely lose.
Now we lose. Yeah.
Well, no, he would have lost anyway.
No, but he would have come in second. Now he's dead
no,
last.
I don't care. I'm saying
There's
Like,
no
even if-
prize for
Yeah, there's
second.
no prize.
Oh,
There's
wait.
no prize
There's
at
no
all.
prize at all.
Actually,
No prize at
maybe
all.
it's not because if it's less,
Yeah.
Oh
It's
well,
not.
I
If
still
it's
would
less
win.
than 90
yeah,
million.
you would because you get
Yeah.
the 2
Yeah.
points.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
again.
you would have tied. You would tie.
Oh,
with
would
okay.
tie. It would be a big
Again, I
fat
just
tie.
thought that it would be funny if Ethan won the game that was so horribly
It was
rigged
very
against
rigged
you.
against him.
The questions you were asked to
I
recite the
know.
entire Quran from
It-
memory.
yeah.
I mean, it was horrible.
It
what
was.
you were.
I'm
what
gonna
you did
say
to
it
him.
that it was the fact that you won last round. You had to come back.
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
yeah,
uh-huh.
that's fine.
I have a
The
really
correct
hard question.
answer as of September 24th,
There we go.
2024 is 143 million.
Oh,
Okay,
I was
that's
I was a little off.
So you were
There
pretty
you
close.
go.
Ty,
Okay,
you got
Ty,
you
you're
got
the winner.
2 points.
You're the winner.
And so the winner at 12 points is Ty. Yay for
Oh,
Ty!
Ty won.
Do I get a gift card? You
was
said
the
there would be a gift
easiest.
card.
You get this piece of paper that
You
says
said there would be a
won.
gift
it.
card
Yeah.
to Benihana's.
That's it, gentlemen.
Guys, thanks
That's
for
it for the
watching.
Power Up Club.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Nothing mattered.
It was rigged from the start.
Bye.
Of course it was.
Gentlemen,
It all is.
on Life I'm High.